In this video, we'll take a look at how to create communications or data links inside the command PE database. Creating sensors and communications is relatively straightforward, and we simply click on the comms option, and that links us to a list of all the different comms existing inside the system already. The same process that we've used for everything we've done so far is going to be present in this particular case. In this case, let's go ahead and create a really basic radio system, which also gives us the ability to command guide particular weapons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here and see if I can find something along those lines. Just looking for a generic UHF radio. So go ahead and do a quick filter here. Text filters, contains, we'll type in UHF. Now let's take a look here. We have some generic, it looks pretty good right there. I'll go ahead and make a copy of that the same way we normally do. Now that we have that copy, we can now decide exactly what we're going to do with it. So in this particular case, I'll go ahead and shut my filtering option off here, and now we have everything we need to know. So we'll do data link plus, call it as well data link. So make it a little bit interesting for us. Specialty system. So now normally we have our radio options. In this case, we can do everything from doing a specific type of data link to using it as a single communications. Keep in mind, each one of these different types is something that's being generated just for the purposes of making it unique. So one thing we can always do is we can make this a generic weapon link, which now we can use it as a generic connection for any particular item. So we'll go ahead and select that. Now we can select our range. We're going to assume that's a fairly fancy version, so we're going to give it a 150 nautical mile range. And now we can define exactly how many different channels we want. We're going to assume this is a fairly modern radar, or modern radio, I should say. So it has 15 channels. Now where this gets a little bit more complicated is all your requires off-board options. We have things where we can make it optional, we can make it a sensor, we can make it a missile data link, we can make it hypothetical, and we can make it completely in use. In this particular case, this particular system, if we made it optional, we don't have to worry about losing it. Nothing bad will happen. If it is not optional, we can completely lose communication should something happen to it. This is the covered with communication disruption. Now, the next thing we're going to take a look at is the options down here. Now, these are our capabilities. In this case, we can make it line of sight limited. We can make it something that's secure, and we can also make it something that is send and receive only. So in this case, we'll go ahead and add in a couple little details here. Since we are going to be doing a data link to a weapon that we can also do secure voice on, we can also come down here and make it send only and make it receive only as well. We also have the ability to define it as being a broadcast, depending exactly what we want. In this case, we're going to make it a send only option. So now if we wanted to, on top of our weapon, we could define a custom thing that is receive only, which will give us the ability to go ahead and receive any signals from it. Now, notice you have down here the opportunity to go ahead and attach any sort of weapon link directors. This is if you want to have a specific item that has a specific way to generate a specific type of communications frequency. Generally, when you're going to be handling these, the only time you're going to see anything unique is when you're going to be running into a situation like this, where you have this particular weapon system, which has a high SAR weapon link that has its own link and radar director connected to it. If we were to take a look at that, you'll realize that the particular radar system is what is sending the signals to that particular weapon platform. So it's important that you understand that this needs to be linked and is by natively linked for that particular purpose. So going back to our specialty system, it actually doesn't make sense to make this secure only. It makes more sense to leave that one alone so that it can go back and forth either way. Now, keep in mind, whenever you create communications, these communications can be used for multiple different purposes. For example, if I take a look at my R27 two-way link here, this gives me the ability to talk back and forth to one. But notice the type is going to be identical to the one-way. The difference here being is that this particular system has the capability of all these weapons links to go ahead and talk to it this way. Now, this one has a completely different collection of radars that can be used to go ahead and talk to this particular weapon in this particular way. But notice that one of these data links is one wink, and the other one is a two-way. So it's a very critical that whatever system you design is going to make most sense for it. Now, just as a quick example, let's grab an R27R so that you can see exactly what this looks like on the other side of things. So we'll go back over to this page, come up to here, switch to our filter, go ahead and do R27R. And now if we take a look at this particular weapon, we'll switch back to our other view. You'll see that it has a built-in communications where it has 3349 missile data link. So if we actually would come over here, you'll see that the AA10 missile data link you can see has got its own piece here. In this case, this is a nice upgraded version of this one, but it's important that you can see how this particular system has its own link that allows it to be launched and then guided by everything else you have along those lines as well. Now, if we went back over to R27 and we took a look at the other version of the R27, you can see it also has that AA-10 missile link. But again, depending on how you're setting this up and how you're connecting it and how you want to link it, all these things must be consistent to each other. The really only reason you're going to be seeing these is because they're going to be linked to that particular communication. You're using the radar to talk to the missile as well.